In this video, I'm going to step through how to solve a linear programming example graphically. So we had an example that I just went through in the previous video where we had the following. We're producing two products. We had product A and product B. Okay, so products A and B are what we're dealing with. And they required some molding time. They required time at the painting station, time at the finishing station, and also product A, that we could only ship up to 440 of those items. So, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve this problem graphically first by figuring out what the areas are for each of the constraints. Don't worry if that doesn't make any sense yet. Okay, so molding, the equation is the following. For molding, it's that 3xa plus 3xb is less than or equal to 210. Okay, now let's just switch that to an equal sign for now, and let's figure out 2 points on the line 3xa plus 3xb equals to 210. Okay, let's just shift this over a little bit. 3xa plus 3xb equals 210. So easiest way to plot this straight line is just to take and pick 2 points on the line. And the very easiest I find, let's just try the 2 points where one of the values is 0. So when xa is 0, we get 0 plus 3xb equals 210. Divide both sides by 3, and xb has to be 70, which is actually 210 over 3. Okay. Now, same idea. Let's do the same thing for our next point. Okay. We're going to let xb be 0. 3xa plus 3 times 0 is just 0 is 210. Then xa is 210 over 3, and that puts xa at 70. So our 2 points on the line for the molding are 0 and 70 and 70 and 0. Okay, let's go put that molding line on our graph here. So I'm just going to scroll over to a graph here, and I'm going to mark that straight line on my graph. You need to pick a scale also. I'm going to choose to go up by 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So every 5 spaces is going to be 25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 125. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 150. And you'll usually have to play to figure out what the best scale is. I already know the lines. Usually, actually, what I would do, I would go back. Let's go back a minute here. Sorry for scrolling around a lot. What I would do is I'd actually figure out what my points are on my line. First, I'd get all 4 sets of points, and then figure out what my maximum xa and xb are going to be, and then pick my scale on the graph accordingly. Since I already know my scale, because I've done this example before, here's what I've picked. I'm going to go up by 5s on the xb axis, same thing on the xa. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be at 25, because really 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is at 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 35. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 45, and so on and so forth. Oh, sorry. Forgive me. Wow. Okay. So I'm gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 75. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 125. Okay, so those are my scales. Now, first line I'm going to put on my graph is my molding. And I know there are 2 points on this line at 0 and 70 and 70 and 0. So there are my 2 points on the line for molding. And that gives me the following. Got this guy right here is my line. Forgive me, it's a little bit wavy there. Okay, so that's my molding. And now, what we actually ignored originally, so we said 3xa plus 3xb was less than or equal to 210. Then we ignored the inequality and we just said equals. And we generated that straight line, which is this one right here, the straight line right here. Now, let's not ignore that inequality anymore. Let's put it back in. Okay, so what we really looked at was the option where we're exactly equal to 210. What about if we're less than 210? How do we deal with that? Well, that is actually just this whole area below that straight line. Okay, so this area is the values for XA and XB that are allowed to satisfy our molding constraint, which is that we have at most 210 hours in molding that we can use. So here's all the possible X and Y values. So any point within this area would be allowed. When you added up 3 times the XA value and 3 times the XB value, anywhere in this area, guess what? You would have the sum of those two values would be less than 210. If you added up any combination of an XA and XB each times by 3 anywhere on this straight line, the dots that I'm doing right now, if you added up any combo of any of these points and you did the 3XA plus the 3XB for any of the points along here, when you're exactly on this straight line, then those two sums of those products would be exactly equal to 210. So right on the straight line, you'd have values for the 3XA, 3XB exactly equal to 210. Anywhere in the region below the line, you would have them less than 210. Okay, so that is the area that's allowed for our molding constraint. Good. And good, just gonna clean this up a tiny bit before we move on. Good. Okay, now moving on to our next constraint, which is painting. So forgive me for scrolling around here. And we're just going to do one thing, grab a different color here. Okay, so now let's talk about painting. So painting, the constraint was the following. We had 200 hours total. It cost us 4 hours to produce XA, or to paint XA products, 2 hours for XB products or product B, and we had a maximum of 200 hours. Sorry, I keep writing 210 there. And let's figure out what our points are. So let's again try 0. And if XA were 0, we'd get 0 plus 2XB would be 200. That would put XB at 100, which is just 200 over 2. And then if we put in instead 0 for XB, we would get 4XA plus 0 equals to 200. That puts XA at 200 over 4, which is 50. Okay, so our 2 points on our line are 0 and 100, and 50 and 0. So XA is 0 for this one, XB is 100. Here XA is 50, XB is 0. Okay, so let's put those on our graph. So XA at 0, XB at 100 is actually our y-intercept. So XA at 0 puts our XB at 100 right here. And xb at 0 puts our xa at 50. Let's connect the dots there and draw out our straight line. Good. Okay, so there is our painting constraint, and it's in blue. And that again is that constraint that 4xa plus 2xb is less than or equal to 200. And again, to allow for the less than or equal to, it's this whole area below that line. Now, we also have to be below the green line. So actually what we can do now for what's called area feasibility, we have to be below both the blue and the green line. So now we can start ruling out some of the areas, that are not below each. Let's just undo that. Forgive me for the scrolling around. Okay. Good. So now we have to be below both the blue and the green. That puts us within the shaded region you now see. Now let's go add in the next constraint, which is the finishing. So let's go back here and figure out what our points on our straight line will be for finishing. Okay, so finishing, the equation was the following. Xa plus 2xb was less than or equal to 120. Well, for the straight line equation, we'll just set it strictly equal to, and we're going to first put xa at 0 and see what we get. Xb is going to turn out to be 60, which is 120 over 2. Now let's put xb at 0 and see what we get for xa. So we get xa plus 0 equals 120. That gives xa at 120. Okay, so let's put those 2 points on our line for finishing. So again, when xa is 0, xb is 60. When xa is 120, xb is 0. Okay, let's put that on our graph. So 0 and 60 is right here. And then 120 and so yeah, 120 and 0 is right there. And let's connect the dots for those. Okay. Oh, forgive me here. There we go. A little bit wiggly, sorry about that. Okay, now our area of feasibility has just been updated. Now we also need to be below the red line, because again, don't forget when we're doing this for our finishing, the red line is actually the line where xa plus 2xb is exactly equal to 120. We want to be equal to or less than, so less than or equal to 120. So that gives us the whole area at the red line or lower than it, but we also need to be below the green line and the blue line. So now you can imagine our area here is changing. I'm going to try to make it more in bold here, what we have, but we need to be below the red, the blue, and the green lines now. Okay. So our new area of feasibility is slightly smaller. Now here it is. So this right here is no longer included. Oh, sorry, that was too much. Good. And now, there we go, that's our new graph. Okay, now going back, we have one more constraint, which is our shipping. We were told that we could only have up to 40 units of product A shipped. Now, again, just like all the other ones, we're just going to make a straight line at first. And what we're actually going to have for a straight line, XA is always going to be 40, no matter what XB is. So to plot the line, you can literally just plot 2 points on the line. You can let X be whatever you want. Let's say it's 100. XA is 40. When XB is 0, XA is 40. When XB is anything, XA is always 40 for this straight line. Okay, so let's look at that for the graph. So for our shipping, first of all, we're going to deal with XA equal to 40, and then we're going to refine it to be less than or equal to 40, just like the other ones. Now 40 is right here. Here's our 40 for XA. And that gives us a vertical line where XA is always 40, no matter what. Okay. Now, how do we deal with less than or equal to 40? So now, less than or equal to 40 is everything to the left of 40. So that's all of this area here, all to the left. So now we have a new piece to our what's called area of feasibility. We need to now be less than or equal to 40 for the X value. So now our area of feasibility is this area right here, this whole shaded area. If we want to make it really clear, we could also highlight it in yellow. So this now is finally our area of feasibility. There's also what are called the non-negativity constraints we talked about before. Now for those guys, you'll notice we actually already imposed them. We actually already started XA at 0. We didn't go below 0, and we already had XB starting at 0. So in both of the quadrants here, we just, for both the variables, if you will, we already enforced that XA and XB are what we call non-negative. They never went below 0. So this yellow shaded area, this one that I created, let's just define it here. That's called our area of feasibility. Okay, so we have now defined that. And in the next video, what I'm going to do is place on it what are called level curves for our function we were looking to optimize, which was our profit function. And then from there, once we have placed those level curves on our area of feasibility, then we can see which one is optimal. And we'll talk more about that in a minute here.